On the back of the Nikon Coolpix A1000, there's a little button that says AEL and AFL. And I had to ask myself, what does that mean and what does it do? And I had no idea. And even after I found out what it was for, I still had no idea how to use it. And that continues to this moment. So I'm gonna see if I can find out what that does, how to use it, and how can I use it to help me in my photography. Here is the button in question, AEL, AFL, and that stands for auto exposure lock and autofocus lock. You can configure that in the menu. Go down to setup and AEAF lock button. And you have four options: AEAF lock, AE lock only, AE lock hold, and AF lock only. AE lock hold, that particular one is a little different in that when you use it, the way that you use this button is you press the shutter halfway down, and while it is halfway down, you press the AEL button. You can see AEL shows up. Now, when it's on AEL hold, we can let go of that now, and it stays that way. And so it's now locked in the exposure, not the focus, but the exposure, 1/30th and 3.4. Now, if we we brighten up the scene, it's still 1:30, 3.4. It hasn't changed. Ordinarily that would have changed when I put that paper in there. The focus, it still does, the autofocus is still working. And so it'll stay there until we click the button, take a picture. Now it is cleared. Oh, it's still there. Okay, so it is, so even from one exposure to another, the AEL hold stays on until we press the AEL button, and that turns that off. Now if we change to autofocus lock only, we press the shutter button halfway and then press the AE. Now it's autofocus lock, but if we let go of the button, it turns off. Okay, it's not on hold. So we'll do it again, press the button, and we'll have to hold that button in. And now if things get out of focus, the autofocus is not going to track that. The autofocus is locked in. You take our picture. We're still holding that button in. And now, if we let go of that button, what does the autofocus do? The autofocus changes and focuses on the clippers. Now, just pushing the shutter button halfway down usually locks in your exposure and focus, I believe. Let's see what happens now. We don't have the shutter button depressed. There's our exposure information, and yeah, see, it adjusted the exposure to account for the changing scene. Now, if we hold the shutter button halfway down and we take that out, the exposure is still locked in, just holding the button halfway down, and we take our picture. It looks like that AEL, AFL button does the same thing as holding the shutter button halfway down, but you don't have to worry about accidentally taking a picture, accidentally pushing the shutter button too far down. That could be a help. And with the exposure lock hold, that can be useful, keeping your exposure locked in from one shot to the next in certain situations. So I hope I've got that right, and I hope we've learned something that's useful. I'll have to experiment with it and see how that works out for me. And if you have any advice and experience with this button, please let me know in the comments and teach me. That's what this is all about, is me learning how to use this camera.